You already know what time it is. Welcome back into the NFL with AJL and the Double A, as we do every week with the weekly college football content. Episode 87. You could have been anywhere else in the world, but you're right here tapped in with us on the show. Hope you had a blessed Christmas. Hope you had an amazing, safe New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, between the travels, the family, the friends, the food, and everything in between, plus what 2025 is bringing to the table. You already know. Before we jump into the show, y'all please make sure to like and share that stream, subscribe to the show, hit the bell, tell someone about this show. The QR code with every bit of social media and podcast content will lead you straight to us at the NFL with AJL. Y'all get in the comments, get in the chat, let us know what you're feeling about the show tonight. Again, make sure you share the show, subscribe on YouTube. If you want to donate to the show monetarily, you can DM us, you can do the super likes, the super chats on YouTube, whatever your heart desires. We are breaking down the CFP quarterfinals and then discussing a little bit of some general takeaways from the second round. But as always, Alan, before we jump in, great to have you in. How was New Year's, bro? Doing all right?
New Year's was fantastic. Can't complain. Christmas was amazing as well. And we had some pretty good games over the weekend, I must say, and I can't wait to jump into it.
Yeah, man. Speaking of jumping into it, let's not waste any more time, man, as we had Penn State take down Boise State 31-17, I believe. I want to make sure I have that right. I hate when I don't have the score right in front of me because I'm so focused on the takeaways. 31-14, my gut kind of told me that. Penn State takes down Boise State 31-14. Ashton, Jeanty held for under 140 yards for the first time all year. Mm-hmm. Give me some of your takeaways on this first matchup that we saw going into the new year.
So my initial reaction, just right off the bat, Penn State controlled most of this ball game. Yeah. Shout out to Maddox Madsen, but he threw legendary 3 interceptions. Mm-hmm. That's crucial in a game like this. On this stage, you haven't been here in a long time.
Yep.
You're in the Fiesta Bowl, which you haven't been in for a long time. Boise State, they showed fight in the third quarter, but until Penn State just scored 4 minutes later.
Right.
And it's just like, okay, well, Penn State's back in control of this ball game. And Boise State was absent in the entire fourth quarter. Penn State's D had them shut down. I mean, it wasn't even a fight. Drew Aller was impressive. He had a really good performance, 3 touchdowns, 171 yards. Like I said,
feels like he threw for more than that with the way he was slinging it around.
Right, exactly. Dude looks like a freaking NFL quarterback out there. And I got to give it to him, man. Like I've been saying the last few weeks, guy is a stud. He's getting better week to week. He's making adjustments on offense, clicking with his receivers. You know, I just got to give my hat to Penn State on this one, man. They really controlled this, didn't let up, kept their foot on their neck the entire time.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all I got to say about it. You know, Boise State, man, y'all did a great job sneaking into the first college football playoff with a 12-team bracket
with
getting a bye week
too.
Yeah, with a bye as a Mountain West Conference person.
That's right.
Or team, excuse me. And I just got to get my hats off to Boise State. Better luck next year. I think y'all could still be productive. But Penn State, like I said, was just the better team top to bottom, like I predicted last week. And it was really, I don't want to say underwhelming, but I kind of felt like that was going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, you see Penn State jump out to the 14-0 lead. I mean, Drew Aller looking so elite out there. The 2 touchdown passes. I mean, a drop in the bucket on the back left of the end zone to your tight end, and then another drop in the bucket, really for the back of the end zone. I really thought it was an overthrow. So just showing off that nice arm and touch. And I mean, there was even some scouts out there saying, yeah, big time. There's even some scouts out there saying that, if Drew Aller takes Penn State to a deep playoff run, that they think he could go to the 2025 draft and actually, harbor some attention. I'm pretty sure that Drew Aller is staying this year, which I think is very smart. We talked about how we think Carson Beck should do that as well. And I agree with you with that on Drew Aller. I think you take that time, you still build more of that camaraderie with James Franklin. You understand that you still got this great season ahead of you. And I think maybe the only way that Drew Aller could go to the draft is, if he ended up winning the national championship. I can't lie. I don't know if he's eligible off the top of my head. Right. And I can't lie, I don't know, off the top of my head if he's eligible, but I do know that he has looked, like you said, to your credit, very solid game in and game out. And you hit the nail on the head. I mean, Penn State literally did outplay Boise State in every facet in this game. And just a couple of takeaways when you're really looking at the tape of this game and just watching it snap for snap. Boise State didn't have a single player with a higher run blocking grade of 61. Just for
Right.
reference, 60 is where every player starts, and that's the grade you get if you don't run block at all. Penn State's
Absolutely.
linebackers, particularly Rojas and Vanover, were exceptional at getting after Ashton and Jeanty and just consistently out leveraging Boise State's offensive line. And you look at the fact that Boise State really didn't set Ashton Jeanty up for much success. I mean, yeah, 30 carries for 105 yards. That's a lot of carries. But when you take it back, look at the context, his longest run of the day was 26 on a third and 21 where Penn State didn't expect him to run. So let's take that out.
Shut him down.
29 carries for 78 yards, just under 2.5 yards a carry. And we came on this show and said it, Alan. Penn State could make more mistakes than Boise State could. 3 picks from Maddox or Maddox Madsen, as you said, so it's clearly horrible. But if Jeanty didn't come out and have a Jeanty type game, there was no way that they were going to be able to hang in this one. Now, yes, the game did get to 14-7, and you kind of thought at one point that Boise State was going to make that push, but of course they only come out with one other touchdown late in the game.
Jeanty was the rock in this situation.
Yes, he absolutely was. And just to know that Boise State was okay running into 8-man boxes and betting on their offensive line and tight ends to do the jobs. Jordan
Michael Darby
really out there looking like the New Orleans Saints. Wow, Darby. Wow.
Damn it, man. That was low.
I mean, I don't know if don't take me there. Don't take me there. We have no NFL content today. I've already read another excruciatingly painful article about dumbasses Mickey Loomis.
Let's continue. Allen is gone. Allen is gone.
I know. Allen's gone, so that's good, but we still got a lot to do. But yeah, I mean, when you look at the fact 29 carries for 78 yards outside of his biggest run, that is not a recipe to win. And again, 3rd and 21, they split 4 receivers out wide and they got a 5-man box to run against. Nobody would have expected Boise State to run the ball, but they probably checked it at the line and got Ashton through there, For sure. I got to give a shout out to Kofi King. The first quarter of the game, Ashton Jeanty fumbles, and then he literally catches it in air, toe taps, and stays in. So that was huge. Unfortunately, Drew Aller did turn around and give it right back here. But, like I said, I felt like Boise State was going to put up more of a fight after they answer. It's a 14-7 ball game. But when you look at Penn State, Katron Allen really had the big-time game that Ashton Jeanty should have had. 17 carries. I've got to look at these on my phone, actually, because for some reason it's not wanting to pull up on my end.
While he's doing that, hey, Brian, I'm going to give you tips of the cap of your Buckeyes later, so stick around.
Let's ho Buckeyes. I love it. Yeah, Brian, stay around, man. We got a crazy game to talk about there for sure. But Katron Allen, 17 carries, 134 yards, and I thought it was kind of funny because he's clearly eating on the ground. And I mean, at one point in this game, Penn State had over 11 yards per carry, and you kept seeing that they wanted to still take it back and have Drew Aller air it out, which is great. But on a 3rd and 1, you're throwing a play action pass. Katron Allen should have had 20, 25 carries in this game. And maybe you're like, okay, Adam, it's a 3-possession game. Are we really going to dig into it that deep? But yes, absolutely. And when you just look at the fact that Penn State's run support as well, backing up against Ashton Jeanty, again, that was a really major thing. Tyler Warren, of course, with the major game as well. Now, the pass blocking for Penn State, we did see that Drew Aller was hurried quite a bit in this game, and the story, the score might not reflect that. A couple sacks, couple TFLs, couple hurries and pressures, but overall, Penn State was the better team. We expected that, no doubt.
All things considered, he performed quite well.
Yeah. He, one of his best performances in a big game. Yeah, you don't like the turnover, of course, but you got to hate it for Ashton Jeanty. I mean, you look at Cam Scadaboo's last game and you're just like, wow. And then you look at Jeanty's last game and you're like, dude got bottled up by the number 2 defense in college football, or I don't know if it's number, I think Penn State might be number 8 or somewhere around there. I know they have a very good defense in the country, but
somewhere thereabouts.
Yeah. Y'all get in the comments, so let us know what you think about Penn State and Boise State so far. We're going to go ahead and jump into the next game here as Texas and Arizona State play a double overtime thriller. Texas pulls out the dub 39-31 after almost blowing a 16-point lead in the fourth quarter. Give me some of your takeaways from this one, man. I mean, Cam Scatterby with a hell of a game, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's not to be taken lightly. Cam Scatterby, man, that's one
Yep.
of the best performances. To get I think he got some kind of trophy or something after the fact. Um, Even though he lost, that was the first time it ever happened in that
Yeah.
Bowls game's history. But
Yep.
never mind that. Um, Look, this was easily my favorite matchup because I undercut the hell out of this matchup last week when we were predicting.
Oh,
I
we
under
both did. They were the
we
biggest favorite of the
man,
weekend. They've been the biggest favorites in the first two rounds.
look, man, Arizona State played with so much heart. I have not seen that much heart in a team in a long time.
You had people on social media saying Scattaboo over Jeanty. I'm like, hold
Nah,
up now.
hold on a minute. Hold on a minute.
Hold up now.
But
They both
look,
sitting at home, but let's not forget what
look,
Ashton just did.
look. You can ask Beth, man. I was back and forth in between the bedroom and that TV, like, oh my God, are they gonna do?
Yeah.
Are they
Yeah.
gonna beat Texas? Oh
I was
my
like,
God,
Texas really finna drop this one to
yeah.
ASU?
And I was like, dude, if so, ASU's going all the way. Like,
Right.
I was on that bandwagon. They
Ride that
had me
momentum, brother.
convinced.
Yeah.
So, like I
Yeah.
said, easily my favorite matchup of the weekend so
Right.
far.
The most competitive matchup of the
They
playoffs so far.
they showed sudden intensity. They cranked it
Yeah.
up to 11 in the fourth quarter, and they just
Yeah.
didn't stop. They got that pick off Quinn Ewers, and they just opened the
Oh,
floodgates. That
when they got
changed
that pick,
exactly. It changed the
Texas was
momentum.
in trouble,
Kenny
boy.
Dillingham, it clicked in his head, and it was like, "Hey, we got to do this."
Right.
And so, like I said, Texas controlled this game until the fourth quarter.
Yep.
And then Cam Scatterbo just turned on the Jets, dude. That's one of
Literally
the
became
best
Taysom Hill.
Yeah, literally. Multi-role fighter jet over here.
Right. Travis Hunter on the offense. I mean, what do you want to
Yeah.
say?
So, in I've also seen this. Snowball being hit and not called for targeting could have contributed to an ASU victory or could not have. I'm
Yeah.
not going to speculate on either. I'm
You
not
know,
going to sit
ASU
here.
actually filed a lawsuit with, I think the CFP or the
I don't
referees.
I don't freaking blame them. I
Yeah.
don't blame them. But that's
Yeah.
beside the point. That was blatant targeting. I'm not going to
Uh-huh.
get into it too much.
Right.
I'm not going to cover it. But look, the ending was still 39-31, I believe. Um, Look, at the end of the day, that was a big blunder by the refs, but we
Uh-huh.
won't get into that too much. First overtime was amazing.
Yeah.
Both great responses. ASU screwed
The
up
f-
when
yeah.
they gave Quinn Ewers damn near 10 yards of just leverage to throw a football
Yeah.
and score again. If they would
Yeah.
have prevented right
And
there,
what
the
a
game's
bomb.
over.
Yeah, from Gunnar
What a
Helm, fourth
bomb!
and
What a
13.
bomb! Yeah,
That's not an
exactly.
answer. That's
That's
a
a
whole
check
booklet
mark
of
on the
answers.
question.
Yeah.
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 So, like I said, ASU screwed up letting that happen, and second overtime really just sealed the deal.
Mhm.
Just Quinn Ewers throwing another bomb to the end zone, doing
Yep.
what he
Gunnar
does.
Helm again.
Former Ohio State quarterback Quinn
Or was it
Ewers.
was it Golden
You
or
know,
Bowden? I think it was
I
Matthew
can't
Golden that
remember,
had that one. Just
but
great plays though.
second overtime they seal the deal, and that's it.
Yep.
There's two crucial areas there where the game comes down to the no call and second overtime, and
Yep.
ultimately ASU fell, but they should not hang their heads in the slightest because they've put up
Mm.
the best fight in this playoffs I've seen thus far.
For sure. They
First
gave us the
round
best matchup.
and second round, they gave us the best matchup I've seen in this entire playoff. This is
Right.
a Big 12 team nobody was counting on in week 9, week 10.
Mhm. Right. I mean,
And
we see them
they
get a first round bye and we're like,
and they go
Arizona
in and
State?
almost yeah, right. And then they
Yeah.
go in and almost beat Texas and I'm like, "Oh, now I see. I see it."
Yeah.
The bracket's broken. I don't like the way it's currently working.
Yeah.
Just because of some of the lackluster matchups we've had.
Uh-huh.
But
I think we need to just seed the field next year.
seed the field,
Conference champions, great, but
make it
don't
a
let someone
16
outside your
team,
12
too.
jump in. Yeah, I literally what I've been saying, or go to 14 like the NFL.
Dude, NCAA.
Yep.
NCAA March Madness. Kirby Smart said this weeks ago. They
Yeah.
had it right with the Sweet 16. Keep
Yeah.
that, and we'll seed them 1 through 16. Make
Yep.
conference championships matter to a degree. If you're
Right,
number
but don't make it
25
the
and
end
win
all
a
be all.
conference championship, you're not in.
Your division's probably weak. Or
Exactly.
your conference. Yeah, your conference is busted compared to the other Power 4 or 5 out there.
Precisely. But don't
Yep.
cheat a good team out
Right.
based off of a conference championship appearance.
Right.
But I
Right.
digress on that point. I'm going to let you take the floor. This will go down as a classic in bowl game
For sure.
history. Literally one of my
100%.
favorite games. Like, this ranks up there with like the 2016 Rose Bowl with or 2017 Rose Bowl with Oklahoma and UGA, man. This is
Yeah.
one of the best, and obviously the 2013 Rose Bowl,
Yeah.
my Knowles. And
Yeah.
just
Granddaddy of them all.
and then the obviously I would have to rank the 2010 Auburn Fiesta Bowl. That's
Yeah.
one of my favorite bowl games I've ever seen.
Oh yeah.
And then honestly, when Alabama beat Ohio State, man, they really sealed the deal on that one. I'm not an
Yep.
Alabama fan by any means.
Is that when Alabama beat Ohio State with Justin Fields was playing?
I believe so.
Yeah. I
Because
feel like a lot
Ohio
of people
State
forget that.
beat the shit out of Clemson. Oh, excuse me.
No,
But yeah, they beat the mess out of Clemson, and they went on to to the championship and lost to Mac Jones.
yeah.
That was a good one.
It was.
But I'll let you take the floor.
Yeah, no worries, man. I'm chomping at the bit about this targeting call because I couldn't disagree more. I could not disagree more that it was targeting. This is my freaking problem with referees nowadays.
Targeting. The referees are terrible.
This is my problem with it, though. It's, it pisses people off, me included, because it's inconsistent, right? We'll even talk about it in the Georgia game, how the refs weren't really consistent with some of the calls as the game went on. First of all, we have learned over the last half a decade in football, we know the refs get worse every year. I'll say it again till I'm blue in the face. We cannot continue to blame referees in pivotal moments of games because we know that they're bad. You now have to outplay referees so you are not at the vindication of them in a pivotal moment of a game. The reason I don't think he was targeting is because he literally was not going to target said receiver. I don't even think he was a defenseless receiver.
It was the helmet-to-helmet
collision. It was a helmet-to-helmet collision, but I think there needs to be a line between unintentional helmet-to-helmet and blatant fucking targeting. Exactly. Because there were plenty of ticky-tack targeting calls that you and I talked about in multiple games this year that I just flat out didn't agree with. But knowing how they were judged over this college football season, yes, knowing how they were judged over this college football season, I could see a bad targeting accusation, yes, and be like, they're going to call that. Because, and Brian, respectfully, I don't even care if the expert came on and said it because that's not targeting. He catches the ball, turns around, goes to make a football move. So that's not a defenseless receiver. I think if anything, it's a textbook waist up tackle and the helmets just so happen to collide. Give him a 5 or 10 yard penalty and move on. Do I think there should have been some sort of assessment of discipline for the play? Yes. But I'm not going to go out on a leg and say ASU was robbed because I don't think it was targeting.
Receiver, Brian, you do have to protect the receiver. And I'm going to say something. As a Florida State fan, watching the 2013 national championship, I grew up an Auburn fan, right? Auburn and Georgia, a split household.
Yeah.
Watching Kelvin Benjamin catch that pass to win the national championship. You could have called it for OPI, but they did not. And that almost ultimately determined a national championship game.
Mm-hmm.
And look, as a
Brian, you're hilarious. Don't even stop it with that comment. You really just made me dig. You know who won it, so we'll go ahead and let you have it. Go ahead.
But as a Florida State Seminole fan, I love it having the 2013 victory, and I love having the 2010 victory growing up an Auburn fan, and I love the 22 and 21 victory growing up a Georgia fan as well. Because of my mother and my father.
Yep.
I found my own way with the Seminoles. But at the end of the day, it comes down to the call and the end result. And the end
Yeah.
result says all. The end result says all, and that's all I can say, really. You can banter about the non-card targeting call
Mm-hmm.
all day long, but does that change the outcome of the game? No,
Yeah.
it does not.
I don't personally think it does because refresh my memory. Was the non-targeting call late in regulation?
It was against Stovall.
Yeah. Was it in
It
regulation
was
or was
in
it in
regulation. It was in
okay, then
regulation.
let's stop this argument. Let's absolutely stop this argument because Arizona
Well,
State
the
came out with a
thing
chance to
is,
win the football game, and Arizona State with Scadaboo forced overtime.
the only thing I'll combat you against that is the yards that come up with the targeting call.
Yeah, 15 yards, automatic first.
Exactly. That gives you a really big benefit in a game
Mm-hmm.
like this when it's down to the nitty-gritty. Now, like I said, I'm not touching it. I'm not really going to speculate yay or nay it cause the outcome of the game. I'm not going to be that guy.
Yeah,
I'm not going
right.
to be that guy. I'll leave that Curb Street and Chris Fowler and all those guys.
Yeah,
But to me, the end result is the end result. They in overtime they let Quinn Ewers throw 2 bombs, and you cannot let that happen on defense.
exactly.
I love Arizona State's poise and their grit. I think they're
Mm-hmm.
going to be an even better team next year under Kenny Dillingham because he's a great coach. He's coached in the SEC as a coordinator. Um, he's
Yeah,
just
that's not a defenseless receiver. I'm watching it back. That is anything but a defenseless receiver is not
look,
able to catch a ball and
call
run
it
at
what
you.
you want. It was
Right.
divisive
Oh, it was.
amongst social media, right? And let's face it, social media is the new age when it comes to football in general, NFL or college level.
Yep.
And what I say is the outcome was the outcome. Let's
Yep.
focus on the next week, which is Texas Ohio State and Notre Dame Penn State,
Yeah.
and our national championship after that. That's what we need
Right.
to be focused on. Look, we can't be hanging our hats on what happened in the past, whether
Right.
it was a good call or controversial call. There have been many controversial calls. Used as a State fan, know that there have been many a controversial call. Me as a
100%,
Titans
brother.
fan,
I watched it
know
in
that there's
what
been a
was our last
controversial
Super
call.
Bowl run. Yep.
So
Yep.
they call Kevin Dyson short. I argue, whatever.
Yep.
You're a miracle with the Minnesota Vikings, and then the other one where you should have been playing against Tom Brady
Yeah. The
and
no call.
the no call.
Yeah.
You know, it is
Yep.
what it is. You can't change it.
Right. Right. We'll move off of this call / no
Sorry,
call here.
I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to. Go on for so long, but it is what it is. Make it better next year.
And some of the disagreement between me and you and the comment section, I think is pretty nice. So no problem at all, man. Just a couple more takeaways from the game, specifically about Scadaboo and some others before we get out. Scadaboo literally had the best last game you could ask for out of somebody. I mean, a big time late game run to a touchdown pass, which he actually audibled to. He admitted that on a podcast. And
He
a
did.
2-point conversion in the final 7 minutes of regulation. Scadaboo finished with 39 touches, 257 yards. Threw a 42-yard touchdown to Malik McClain with 6.5 remaining, got it to 24-16. Then he made a 62-yard reception to set up his own 2-yard touchdown run just a couple minutes later. Then he ran for the 2-point conversion to tie it at 24, which obviously pushed it into overtime. And I mean, you see this guy puking on the sidelines. I mean, he literally had to come out multiple times to catch his breath. Literally ends up finishing with 39 touches, which was
He gave his
really
all.
crazy. Right. Here's what some people don't realize. Arizona State outgained Texas 510 to 375 in total yards. But the Longhorns defense was forced to defend a 97 play total game from Arizona State. Their defense was on the field for almost 100 plays.
Yeah.
And they got dominated in time of possession, Alan. 37-54 for Arizona State. 22-06 for Texas. That's not a recipe for success, bro.
They couldn't protect against the air yards of Quinn Ewers, man.
Yep. And here's why. That reason there,
The
and we'll talk about
DBs
it a
couldn't
little more
lock in.
Right. And that reason there with the domination of time possession and the outgaining in defense is one reason why I think Texas is the weakest team next to Notre Dame left out of the Final Four. But, shout out Texas. They stuffed Scattaboo on a couple of
precise point.
Yeah, no, you're good, man.
I would say Texas is the weakest to Penn State, but not
yeah.
But that's just me.
Yeah, no, I totally feel you, bro. And that's totally valid too. Texas stuffed Scattaboo on a couple of 4th and 1 carries, which I thought was really great. Now, Texas's offense was a little concerning as well because their offensive line wasn't that, great in this one. We knew that there was a couple of injuries, Kelvin Banks, even some other linemen as well. And just the overall effort, 8 tackles for loss, 3 sacks on Quinn Ewers, and, kind of made the Longhorns one-dimensional. I mean, they jump out 14-7, I think, and then you go up 17-7, and then they're just kind of wondering what's happening there. 49 total yards rushing on 22 attempts. The longest run by any Texas player was 7 total yards. So, Arizona State really did do everything right at certain points in this game to be able to win, and especially with the Javon Robinson interception. I mean, what a way to seriously just push life into this team, But, you hate to see a team like Arizona State, such an underdog. I mean, the biggest underdog of the weekend, come out and put up such a fight. Yes, the best performance, and unfortunately have it slip away. And I know that's why everybody looks at the targeting call because, it possibly wouldn't have went to what's it called?
Tennessee Ohio State was going to be the best matchup of this entire playoffs, and lo and behold, it's Arizona State and Texas.
Yeah, and Ohio State just absolutely, they just absolutely wiped the floor with them, man, and it's really crazy to see. This has been episode 87 of the NFL with AJL, featuring the Double A, as we do every single week on the show with the weekly college football content, the QR code, the bell, the like button, the subscribe button. Go ahead and interact with all those areas. Get in the comments, get in the chat. You can do the super chat, the super thanks if you like to monetarily contribute to the show. But if anything, just give us a like, give us a subscription, comment, and share it with somebody. That will take us further than we ever need inside of the algorithm. And as always, we're sponsored by Buy and Sell with AJL for all your worldwide professional real estate needs, looking to buy a home, sell a home, or invest in real estate. This is the team you need to be working with, whether you want to get on their monthly newsletter, a monthly neighborhood market report, even start attending some of their real estate meetups that they do monthly. A lot of great aspects of this team that can really help you hit your real estate goals. And then, as always, at PrayStation Online, it's the praying hands with the PlayStation colors. You can hit them up on social media, use the code AJL at checkout, and get a nice little discount, or a gift rather, from going through with them, whether it's a hat, a shirt, any type of apparel. They can stick the logo on there for you, or maybe you just want a logo shipped over to you. Go hit them up at PrayStation Online. All right, man. This is the part of the show that I was low-key regretting walking into. It hurts real bad. And I didn't want to talk about it, man. I didn't want to talk about it because it was hard to watch last night. It was really hard to watch Notre Dame.
2-10 Knowles. You can talk about this.
It was really hard to watch Notre Dame hand it to my Bulldogs 23-10 as they were 1.5-point favorites. But they came in winless in BCS New Year's games. Georgia was 2-0 all time versus Notre Dame. Give me some of your takeaways on this heartbreaking loss for us, man.
All right, before I move on, I just want to say second overtime sealed the fate for sake. That's all I wanted to get at that previous segment.
Yeah.
Now, moving on to UGA versus Notre Dame. You may like or you may dislike what I have to say about this. Growing up a Georgia fan before an Auburn fan before a Florida State fan. Because my mom and my dad are Georgia and Auburn split household, and I found my own way.
Yep.
So, what I have to say, Notre Dame was just a better team last night. Let's just be real.
Give
better on special teams, better on defense.
Yep.
Just every facet of the game. You know, and I want to say one thing. almost every game, not every game, but almost every game, a quarterback rushes for over 50 yards. Hear me out. UGA, most of the time, they lose
Mm-hmm.
because their defense is not orchestrated to beat a rushing quarterback.
Yep. And that was on display all year.
It was
Our
on
two
display
losses
all
came to
year.
mobile quarterbacks.
Mobile quarterbacks, Jackson Dart and Jalen Milroe.
Yep. And Haynes King.
Alabama
Haynes King almost messed around and put
Haynes
us out
King.
too.
And I was about to get to that. Haynes
Yep.
King, right? They almost lost to Georgia Tech.
Yep.
Because Haynes King had 110 rushing yards.
Yep.
So by my eye, from what I've crunched up in this statistic, every quarterback over 50 rushing yards, they've almost lost or lost.
Yep. We got away with 2 and we fell with 2.
Alabama, Ole Miss, now Notre Dame.
Yep.
UGA's defense, they cannot stop rushing quarterback. They just can't.
Yep.
It's not in their scheme. Maybe it has something to do with Will Muschamp leaving. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it has something to do with Mike Bobo on offense. Maybe it doesn't.
Right.
I'm not going to get into
Points to
that.
that defensive side of the ball.
Definitely the defensive side of the ball. It's something that needs to be worked next season.
Yeah.
You evaluate your D coordinator and you evaluate Mike Bobo because they're not living up to the Georgia. I know you do.
I want his ass gone
as
yesterday.
A bystander and as a part-time Georgia fan, I want him gone. I want him out of there.
Get out.
He cost you the Sugar Bowl. He cost you this. So something that needs to be resolved very soon. Now, one positive takeaway I can have for UGA is Gunnar Stockton showed some promise. He had 234 yards, 100. He had 1 touchdown, and 20 of 32 pass completion. That's
Georgia
pretty
fans
good.
Got to be happy about him coming back next year.
That's pretty good. I'm happy just seeing Gunnar Stockton because I want to see what he does for our game that we love so much. Mm-hmm. And as a part-time Georgia and Auburn fan, I love to see both of those teams do well. But ultimately, like I said, defense and special teams won this game. And, like you had mentioned to me, Notre Dame won this game by scoring twice within 60 seconds. And
3 times technically.
3 times technically, yes.
Yeah, kicked the field goal at the end of
Notre Dame was just the better team on defense all night.
Oh, they were, brother. This might be the best defense next to Ohio State left in the playoffs with the way that they just shut us down.
And that's exactly why. Period. Because I don't think Penn State's defense stacked up to UGA's. I just don't.
Right.
Because in the SEC, yes, technically it does mean more. But if you want to go with the memes, the Big Ten is trolling the SEC right now, and for good reason.
Yeah, for sure. We got one team left, and it's the newbies.
It's the newbie guy. Exactly.
The new kid on the block.
With that, I say Ohio State Notre Dame is not a shocker to me as the national championship. Because to me, by my eye test, those teams have beaten the best teams at their best.
That's fair.
In the right moments.
Yep.
And their defenses showed prowess.
Yeah. And that's the biggest win of Marcus Freeman's career by far.
Exactly.
Might be the biggest win for Notre Dame since they went to the Natty back in 2013. Yep.
Exactly. And I have a friend that's a Notre Dame fan, and I know he's cheering on right now.
Oh, yeah. Their last Natty was in 1988. So,
because,
they're ready for one.
He was telling me years ago, or a year back, 2 years back, when they were winning back-to-back championships, he's like, Georgia, they some dogs, man. Like literally. And I was like, yeah, they are. And now his Notre Dame fighting Irish. Yeah, they beat the UGA dogs finally.
Yep.
For the first time in 30 plus years.
Yeah.
And like I said, it was a good game, but ultimately, Notre Dame just had the better staff, and they were able to score consecutively quicker.
Yep.
Than UGA. I think. But like
Georgia
I
was
said,
3-0, excuse me, against Notre Dame, and now they're 3-1 after this one.
exactly.
Yep.
And like I said, last remarks on this. Notre Dame, I will say, has the potential to go to the national championship this year.
For sure.
Forget that blunder of Illinois. I thought
Right.
for sure that was going to be their downfall. Me being a crucial hater of both Ohio State and Notre Dame, I
Yep.
can't. My hands are up. I can't. They're the best teams in this playoff right now to me.
Right.
But I'm gonna let you take the floor on this one.
Yeah, no worries. Let's see if I can hear you in this one. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Just had a little bit of noise coming in from the left. Wanted to make sure I could still
No
stay
worries.
tapped into you. But yeah, this was tough to watch, man, for sure. You know.
Give me just once. You go ahead.
No, you're good. This was a tough watch for Sir, man. I mean, just knowing how Mike Bobo came out and really played in this one. I mean, the first drive was so bad. You're kind of wondering if this will be a Mike Bobo classic, and it somewhat was. You know, I mean, three straight passes, all incomplete on a drive in the second quarter with 3 minutes left. Didn't understand that at all. And then a 2nd and 5 screen pass, being down 2 touchdowns with no timeouts at the end of the game to be able to somewhat make it a game, even though they bled the clock out. It's just the epitome of Mike Bobo, and that's all the reason why I want him gone next year. And Georgia did not start fast. You come out first drive, 3 plays with negative yards, a pass interference, which saves the drive. And then Gunner's, just straight up looking confused a little bit in the pocket. And I understand first college start. I was confident about him having the 3.5 weeks off, which I feel like that was kind of rust. We see every first round bye team that loses in this one. And again, it was going to be a tall task for Georgia to not only be able to win each game, but go to the national championship and win it, as most people, were expecting. And I can't lie, I'm a little irritated about the 2 straight roughing the punter flags on my freshman kicker, who has literally never kicked before, having some of his first career punts of the day. And those really should have been 15-yarders for Georgia to capitalize on. But you got, again, Gunner looking confused early on in the game on some of those design quarterback runs. But I felt like Bobo was kind of doing better, throughout the end of the first half, and maybe even getting into in the beginning of the third quarter, getting some play action, moving Gunner around, because we know that he is very lethal with his legs. I don't believe the quarterback runs that were designed for him were very effective, because he just looked a little choppy on a lot of those plays. But, we were able to get the offense in space at certain points, but of course only were able to come away with 10 of those. Obviously, Etienne's fumble, it was the first of his career, which is a major killer for us. But Notre Dame, 31 takeaways on the year, most in the country by far. They lead the country in points off turnovers by far. The next closest team is 48 points below them. And every time Notre Dame has forced a turnover, they've won. You want to know the only time what happened when they didn't force a turnover? They lost to NIU. So this team prides themselves on defense, right? They literally pride themselves on defense here. And, just for them to play so effective like that, winning the turnover battle, turning every turnover into points. I mean, hats off to these guys, I don't think I'll ever forget the fact that a walk-on corner who hasn't played this year and is on the sideline in a hoodie actually interfered with the referee on the dot that Gunner threw to the one and only catch of Arian Smith for 67 yards. Takes us from the 11 to the 26 with the 15-yard penalty, and just really think that took a potential touchdown away from the Dogs after moving them back that far. And,
One
as the game went on,
are you? Gunner Stockton, that offense wasn't orchestrated for him.
Nah, Bobo's, I was saying it at the beginning.
Bobo's trash.
Yeah, Bobo, you didn't hear it, but I'll give this to you. This is 3 moments for Mike Bobo in this game that really made it. First drive, 3 plays with negative yards.
I can't talk as an FSU fan, but
yeah, I know what you mean. 3 plays with negative yards, a PI, and then Gunner just looked confused in the pocket, so he didn't start fast. Then at the end of the second quarter with 3 minutes left, 3 straight passes, which were all incomplete in the second quarter. And then 2nd and 5 screen pass, being down 2 touchdowns with no timeouts at the end of the game, is literally the epitome of Mike Bobo. And I'm just ready for this guy to be gone, man. Straight up. When you look at those drives with a quarterback making his first start, that is not very intelligent. That is not a good game plan for him.
Man.
And I thought Georgia's defense honestly did well for the most part. It took until the beginning of the second quarter for Riley Leonard to really start doing his thing. They hit us with a couple of big runs and really never stopped after that. 14 carries for 80 yards. I told you I wasn't worried about Riley Leonard's arm. He only had 90 passing yards, but the 80 yards is really what. Yeah, it was the rushing yards. Jeremiah Love wasn't doing anything. Jadarian Price wasn't doing anything. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I believed it. I told you I feared his legs, but I didn't fear him as a total quarterback. And it's
Right.
very disappointing knowing that Georgia knew they had about 2 weeks to prep for this guy after the Notre Dame Indiana game. I think 11 days technically. Hell, maybe even a potential extra day, because
Yeah.
God forbid, we did not say this in the beginning of the show. Prayers and condolences out to everybody in the city of New Orleans. My whole dad's side of the family is from there.
Yes. Amen.
Awful act on Bourbon Street. Glad some of our family was down there for the Sugar Bowl. So
Yes,
glad those
sir.
people are okay. That is the most important thing
Shout
out of
out
this
to Aunt
entirety of the
Jen,
show.
and
Yeah.
shout out to Uncle Harold, and shout out
Yup.
to Mallory and Tim and
Yup.
Dawn.
Yup. 100%, man. 100%. I'm so glad that they're all safe. And I'm glad that New Orleans was able to stay as safe as they could and the ramped up security procedures and everything. Just shout out to that city for still really trying to put it on for a great game, which,
Yes, sir.
absolutely did. But we contained the running backs, just not Riley Leonard. You got Jalen Walker out here, the Georgia defense just really causing problems. I mean, Notre Dame was 4 for 14 on third down. They had an 0 for on fourth down, no passing game, but Georgia only gets 1 sack on this team. So it was just really rough. It was very clear that the offense needed to wake up. Gunner looked solid outside of the 2 turnovers. And again, Notre Dame is the best in the country at this. We knew how vaunted this defense was walking in. We had to run the ball more effectively, and we didn't. I mean, absolutely zero run game, which lets Notre Dame pin their ears back on a Georgia offensive line that had their worst game of the year, especially on the left side. I mean, the stunts, the delays, the twists that they were throwing at Gunner. And, as much as I did say Georgia would be able to win the Natty without Carson Beck, you're still missing that experience with Gunner Stockton because Carson Beck, multiple starts, couple of great seasons, a couple of decent seasons. He's seen a lot of defense. Even though Gunner's been taking these snaps in practice for a few weeks, that didn't mean that he had seen the type of defenses that Notre Dame was throwing at him. And I actually even said in the YouTube title, Gunner Stockton will have his hands full with the Notre Dame defense, and sure enough, he did. And this was without number 99, Riley Mills. Defense. Oh, yes, they are. Number 99, Riley Mills, who is an absolute force at the defensive tackle position. He was injured, so imagine how this game could have been, going into it. And of course, we hear this stat. Georgia has come from behind 7 of 9 times at halftime. Only Liberty has done it more. That's not a great stat to boast about, but it shows that we're the best team in the country at making adjustments. But then came their magical 17 points in 54 seconds, and the opening kickoff taken back was really just air out of the stadium. I'm like, wow. So Gunner fumbles. They get a short field. Riley throws it right in. 17 points in 54 seconds of game time. But Alan, here's why I am not necessarily pissed about my Georgia defense. They gave up 9 points in the other 59 minutes of the game.
Mm-hmm.
They did everything they could, the special teams. And Notre Dame's defense, giving that offense a short field, was the only reason that Notre Dame won this game. Now, of course, if you can dominate defensively, and especially when you score a special teams touchdown, your odds of winning are already that much higher. But that's why I don't think you can bank.
Right circumstances fell into play for them.
Right. Notre Dame took advantage of a quarterback making his first career start in the playoffs after he had to come out in the second half of the SEC championship game. They had that to their advantage. They're not going to face a quarterback that's an experience later on. They're possibly not going to have a first career fumble from a running back to create a short field. They didn't have. Say again.
I said I can see your argument on that.
They didn't have to drive the length of the field too many times. They literally came away with field goals outside of their one offensive possession, which they threw the touchdown in on, and it was a 20-yard field. They were supposed to score. So that's why I feel so strongly about Notre Dame being outmatched by Penn State. I really do. But I think it'll be a great game also. And
that. I think
we'll talk about that.
Going to come into play crucially there.
For sure. We talk about a bad no PI call. You have Christian Gray holding Dylan Bell, just absolutely insane. You get that call early on in the game on Georgia's first drive, literally the call that saved Georgia's first drive. Thought I was going to absolutely shit my pants with Dylan Bell with another huge drop. Georgia's still leading the country in drops. And you just wonder how this team or offense would have looked if just half of those were caught, if just 20% of those were caught. You know what I mean? But of course, Cash Jones comes in, saves the day with the only touchdown. And he almost dropped that one too. I really thought I was going to, crash out in this game, man. But again, Riley Leonard being such a problem, 14 carries, 80 yards. And we only stopped him when it mattered once. A fourth down scramble, stuffed. He was barely short. They had to get the chain gang to come out. But, the reason I was so irritated. Oh, you did. The reason that I was so irritated with the offense, because you have this game at 20-3. You have this game at 23-10 where it's pivotal moments where Georgia wasn't out of it and they could have pulled closer. And then Notre Dame didn't extend the game as much as they could have because their offense was cold. Their offense was cold in this one. And when you go look at the fact that Georgia lost the turnover battle and lost time of possession, they did great on all other aspects. They had more yards per play. They had more total yards.
Right.
Yeah, they were really
totally
bad on
did.
third down. They were 2 for 12 on third down, which was horrible. But you get 10 penalties on Notre Dame, more than usual for their season average, and Georgia just doesn't capitalize. I got to say, Alan, Kirby Smart was outcoached. On a very rare occasion, he was outcoached by a young guy.
Freeman did a great job. I
Marcus
think he's
Freeman,
arguably better than Brian Kelly, his predecessor.
You can take a look at the way Marcus Freeman planned this game, and Kirby just got outcoached. He was outcoached in this one. You have a 4th and 13, you don't take the points. You have a 4th and 5, you don't take the points. Your defense has been doing good.
Young, sharp mind can make a difference.
Of course.
And the reason proven that time and time again.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Shout out to him, too. You're making your team have to get the ball back once more, not taking those points. So basically 3 possessions now, or you're putting more pressure on having to score 2 touchdowns, no ifs, ands, or buts, just to get back into this game. I thought one of the better sequences of the game, Notre Dame's special team is really just a highlight from this one, literally subbing the entire punt team out to come back in. So Kirby knows he has the chance, as the ref is holding the center, to not let him snap the ball, that he's going to send his 11 out there. Beautiful snap count by Notre Dame to get us to jump off sides. And that was with 7.5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, Alan. Georgia never saw the ball again but one time. That simple offsides penalty, we never saw the football again. 100%. And we just got beat down by Riley Leonard, man. I mean, it was very tragic, alongside with the fact that they ran that kickoff back, But, all things being said, I'm very excited about Gunnar Stockton this year. I really, really am. For the 2025 year, people are talking about, we need to go get a quarterback. We got him.
Stockton's fine.
We got him. I think Gunner's fine too. I think we go in the portal, we get some other guys. We get help for Delp and for Leverett and for Bell, and I think it's
get some help at tight end, wide receiver.
Dominic Everett. Right. We don't have the guys offensively like we did. And Trevor Etienne.
You don't have Brock Bowers. You don't have Lad McConkey.
Yup. Mm-hmm.
You don't have Keely Ringo anymore.
That's right. Right. And when you don't have those people, it's going to show in the cracks in the armor. But I really thought Gunnar did all he could, man. He threw for 234, which is more than what Notre Dame allowed on the average. I thought he had a lot of nice big throws as well that Notre Dame let up on the back end. So, again, if Bobo could have got it together and made a better game plan along with Kirby, I think Georgia has a better shot in this game. But the young guy was not set up for success. Last recap here. Well, excuse me. Any final thoughts before we get out of this one? I know you had one for ASU and I cut you off.
No, we're good. I covered it pretty much. As for this one, Gunnar did all he could.
He did.
First time being on a really grand stage.
Yep.
You can't blame this on him.
Nope.
He did everything in his power.
Yep. That O-line let him down.
Like I said, I think he'll be back next year, and I think he'll even be better. Goes through training camp, gets all the reps he needs.
Yep.
I think Georgia comes back with with that piss and vinegar in them.
Oh yeah, we better, because that's what I'm looking forward to. Last recap of a game here on the show before we get into some general takeaways about the second round. Ohio State absolutely routs Oregon, 41-21.
Nobody saw that coming.
Nobody. In the 111th granddaddy of them all, which is known as the Rose Bowl. How disappointing for Oregon, man, to not show any signs of life until the game was over. It was the biggest halftime deficit in a bowl game since Bama throttled Notre Dame in 2013. And then Ohio State's biggest win over a number one program in 20 years. So absolutely huge. Give me some of your takeaways. And if you want to answer this one first, is Ohio State now the best team in the country with this win?
Ohio State possibly is the best team in the country because they dethroned the best team in the country.
Right.
And the reason why I'll stand by
that, humiliated them too.
They humiliated them on a big stage. They beat a really good SEC opponent in Tennessee. They routed them. Didn't give them a chance. Put their foot on their neck, didn't let up.
Yep.
They're pissed about that Michigan game.
Oh
They're
yeah.
mad. That didn't
Oh
showcase what Ohio State football was about at all.
nope.
And it's hard to beat the same team twice. I keep reiterating this.
It's true though.
Podcast in, podcast out.
Right.
It's hard because they reshape against you, you reshape against them, and
Yep.
you see how the odds stack up. Now, what I'll say is, like I'll say again, Ohio State full of piss and vinegar, still
Yes, they
upset
were.
over that loss against Oregon earlier in the season
Yep.
by 1 point.
Yep. Into which
'Cause
Ohio State could have came down and won if they would
they
have managed the
really
clock well enough. They were
exactly.
marching.
It came down to clock management. Ryan
Will
Day just
Howard.
fell
Ugh.
short,
Yep.
and Will Howard as well. Now,
Yep.
Will Howard, we'll get to him in just a minute.
Yeah.
Oregon, they lost to, and then the heated rivalry game, the flag planting, the whole 9 yards against Michigan. Go blue in that situation, but because that's my Big Ten team.
Yeah.
But in any case, they beat them convincingly. It
Yeah, they
wasn't
did.
even close.
Never was close.
I'm gonna say something. They went duck hunting, so to speak.
Literally.
I mean, literally went duck
Literally.
hunting.
Yep.
Like the Penn State game, they really just controlled it the whole time. They cut Oregon's defense up on the ground.
Yep.
Through Travion Henderson.
Yes,
Had
they
one
did.
of his best games of his career.
8
on
for
a grand
94.
Exactly. Had one of his
Stupid.
best games of his career
Yep.
on a grand stage in the
Yep.
Rose Bowl, which arguably should be the national championship every year.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
yeah.
I'm not
It's
gonna
always
get
a
into that.
phenomenal game.
It's always a phenomenal game. Even Wisconsin was there a few years back. They also cut them up through the air. Will Howard
Oh, yeah.
was insane.
The Jeremiah Smith show.
He put it on. But I'm not gonna. I'll give Dylan Gabriel credit where it's due. He did everything he could. He had like 299 yards and 2 touchdowns, something like that. He did everything they could, but rushing ultimately decided this
Mhm.
game.
Mhm.
Oregon's defense just could not keep up with Ohio State at all.
Nope.
Ohio State was like, okay, we see where we went wrong here against Oregon. They got a rare second chance against Oregon in
Yeah,
the
they did.
playoffs.
Yep.
They beat Penn State. Okay. Then they lose to Michigan, their biggest rivalry game. Okay. All right, big deal. They get a second chance to redeem themselves against Tennessee. They do it. They do it 2 weeks in a row.
Yep.
They're arguably the best team in college football right now because of all the momentum they
Oh, yeah.
have.
Oh, yeah.
All of the they got stuff on their shoulders, man.
Oh, yeah.
They're trying to work it off. They're like, we got to get this monkey off our back. We
Mhm.
know we lost to Michigan. We know we lost to Oregon, but we just beat Oregon. Now let's see if we can win the big one.
Right.
Let's
That's
see
where
if
they're headed.
we can beat Texas. If we can beat
Yep.
Texas, I think we could beat them all. And if
Yeah.
they do beat Texas, I'd really be hard to choose against them. It'd be
Mhm.
really hard to choose against.
I think they beat Texas. And they
I
might beat
do.
Texas
I
comfortably.
definitely think they beat Texas comfortably. Well, not
Mhm.
necessarily comfortably. I think that between the 3 and 7 margin, but I'm not going to get too carried away with that. Because like I said before, I do predict Ohio State and Notre Dame in this college football national championship. But yeah, man, they were just a better team through in and throughout. Ryan Day had his guys ready to go, and they had faced adversity this year, and adversity is a big thing. Having that chip on your shoulder will power
Oh,
you to
yeah.
do a lot of things.
That
And I
loss
think
to
that's what
Michigan might have been the best thing for them.
exactly. It was
Because
a
we've seen
serving.
another version of Ohio State ever since then.
Exactly. We didn't see that Nebraska game, Ohio State. We saw this new Ohio State emerge, and it was a spoonful of good medicine for them.
Yep.
But I'm gonna let you take the floor on this.
Yeah, thank you, bro. I feel like earlier in the show, did I say something boneheaded? Did I?
Well, elaborate.
I feel like I mentioned Chip Kelly earlier,
I don't remember,
and
but you may have.
I feel like I mentioned Chip Kelly earlier, and I know that's not correct because Ohio State is.
I mean, he coached Oregon in
Yeah.
2010.
Chip Kelly is the OC for Ohio State. I'm not going to overthink it. I just feel like I said that earlier.
UCLA's former head coach.
Right. I don't want anyone coming after me and roasting me. But anyways, like we said, Ohio State's biggest win over a number one program in 20 years, biggest halftime deficit in a bowl game. So disappointing for the Oregon fan base. I mean, they really felt like it was their year. You and I had predicted multiple times it was in Oregon and Georgia.
I hope for them.
Yeah, for a national championship, and knowing all the good players and rosters over the years that Oregon has had, and they're still falling short, still looking for that first ever national championship. I 100% say yes to the question of Ohio State being the best team in the country right now, because who looks better than them? Nobody looks better than Ohio State right now. They throttle Tennessee. They blow out the best team in the country, to our belief, in Oregon, and just looks like they're there to handle business from here on out.
I couldn't agree more. Excuse me.
You're good. Chip on the shoulder is crazy. I mean, the chip that they are playing with right now is something that we haven't seen from this team really at all. And I feel like Dan Lanning has a new level of coaching to reach now. It's kind of like when we saw Deion at Colorado a couple years ago. Okay, you're in the Big 12, you won a couple of games, but now you got to realize that you don't have your trenches built up. Dan Lanning comes over to the Big 10. You win the Big 10, you get the bye, you're the 1 seed, and you get absolutely obliterated. So there's levels to this as you get to these big-time playoff games. And
absolutely.
Just to know that you had 3.5 weeks.
David and Bobby Bowden overnight.
No. You can become that over a decade of solid coaching for sure, but not even, overnight or even in 10 games potentially. 3.5 weeks to prep, 11 days specifically to prep for Ohio State, a team who you've beaten already, despite we know how that one did end. I was shocked at how Dan Lanning coached at this one, Alan, because we've seen him break out onside kicks, go forward on 4th down, pull off fake punts in negative territory. And there was none of that in this game. Now, we know Ohio State has the best defense in the country without questioning when you look at it on paper, but a couple of instances from the game. Oregon chose to punt on 4th and 1 from the own 34 on the opening drive, which that's understandable. You're only trailing 7-0. But a couple of drives later, Oregon punted on 4th and 6 from midfield, down by 2 scores. That's not like Dan Lanning. Then they're down by 3 possessions, technically 17-0. The Ducks again punted, facing a 4th and 4 from their own 31. In the second half, they also punted on 4th and 4 from their own 41. When trailing 41-15. So it just felt like, is Dan Lanning really wanting to break this explosiveness out, or does he just truly believe that he's down and out on this one? And when you have a guy like Jeremiah Smith going for 5 for 161 and 2 touchdowns in the first half, finishing the game for 7 for 187 and still 2 touchdowns. I mean, guy's a true freshman, and Dan Lanning said he could go to the NFL right now. He attacks the ball extremely well in the air. He's a crisp route runner. I thought Emeka Egbuka was going to be the big-time guy that was talked about this year, but no, it is Jeremiah Smith, and they have yet again produced another elite wide receiver, it looks like. Even Will Howard in the first quarter, career best 212 passing yards after he set a career best last year. Or not last year, after he went off last game for 160 yards in the hot start against Tennessee. They come out so quick, 3 plays, 49 seconds, and they're on the board. A play action screen pass to Smith. He gets through there for the 45-yard score, and really the rest of it is history, We didn't know if this team was kind of capable of doing this, though, man. Like we said, we see the Oregon game, we see the Michigan game, Nebraska game, maybe not so much Oregon, but you look at Michigan and Nebraska, and you're like, those are some ones that, definitely stick out to you because Chip Kelly, he can get a little stubborn about running the ball and when it doesn't work. And then you kind of have Ryan Day wanting to come in, airing it out more. And clearly what they had through the air is the big reason why they played that way. They score on 6 of their first 7 drives. Of course, it's a 34-0 lead. I'm telling you, a 34-0 lead late in the second quarter. And then you have Travion Henderson basically put it away in the third at 41-15. Yeah, Travion went off. Quinshon Judkins went off as well too, man. But I want to talk about Oregon's defense yet again getting exposed and just flat out having to play in a shootout.
Defensive guy too. That's the sad part.
That's the crazy part. Against Penn State, 518 yards of offense, and Penn State actually outgained Oregon. Oregon just won the football game. They gave up 467 to Ohio State the first time, and they had to put up almost 500 to win that one by 1.
Yep.
They gave up 369 to Boise State and like 180 plus rushing to Ashton. And then another 500 even to Ohio State on New Year's Day. That's not going to win you a national championship. You cannot give up 500 yards in big games and expect to win. When you look at the fact that 2 of their last 3 games, they gave up over 500 yards of offense. They played Penn State in the last game of the year. They had the bye. They gave up 518. They play Ohio State on their last game of the year in the playoffs. They gave up 500 even. This Oregon defense was just broken at this point, and Ohio State and Ryan Day picked up on that.
I broke down film.
Yep. And there's just they did. And clearly Ryan Day prepared his guys more than Dan Lanning did. And Dan Lanning came out and said, no excuse. I didn't get my team prepared. There's no excuses to make. There were no missed calls. I love
that on him.
Yeah. Dan Lanning is the best young coach in college football next to Marcus Freeman right now.
Yeah.
There were no missed calls or unfortunate penalties that really swayed the game. There were no refs to blame, really no injuries that, felt like really affected it. Yeah, Jordan James left. Evan Stewart, tweaked an injury in pregame warmups, but I don't think either of those guys really would have made that big of a difference just seeing how the game played out. I think the most embarrassing part is Oregon ended the game with negative 23 rushing yards on the day. Now, of course, in college football, whenever you get sacked, the sack yardage takes away from that, but 43 yards of sack yardage. If you take that away, Oregon still only had 20 yards on 16 carries, Alan.
Yeah.
0.8 yards per carry. So Ohio State was just shutting everything down. Dylan Gabriel sacked 8 times. And that Oregon's offensive line was elected for the Joe Moore Award, which is the most outstanding offensive line in college football. They looked piss poor. The offensive line was full of piss poor performances. They weren't full of piss and vinegar like they should have been, like Ohio State was.
Right.
Ohio State was ready. They were ready on all facets.
I think Oregon came into this game like thinking, "Oh, we're going to win."
Mm-hmm.
That's a detriment. That's rat poison, as the great Saban would call it.
Oh yeah, 100%. Defense is playing and O-line is getting better. 100%, Brian. Y'all are peaking at the right time, and I can't pick against y'all. I'm picking Ohio State to win it all. Yeah. We're going to predict, obviously, on the next show that we have on Tuesday about the Cotton Bowl and the Orange Bowl, but this is the best team in the country right now.
From where I sit right now, Brian, I see Ohio State and Notre Dame battling it out for the big one.
Yep.
I really do, man, because to me, they both passed the eye test.
Right. They do. And I wouldn't be shocked if Penn State snuck in there as well.
No doubt.
Yes, sir. Y'all continue to get in the chat in the comments. We're hitting the last topic here on the show. Kind of just some overall thoughts on the second round, first ever second round of the 12-team CFP. Do you think 3.5 weeks off hurt these teams? Because every first round bye team lost. And when you look at the fact that Ohio State lost, didn't have to play in the conference, and they come out and absolutely eviscerate the 2 teams that they play. Penn State doesn't get a bye. They blow out Indiana, even though the score doesn't say so, and they handle Boise State as well.
The proof is in the pudding, right? Every team they got a bye got eviscerated.
Yep. They did.
It wasn't even close.
They got outplayed bad.
With the exception
besides
of Arizona State.
And they were getting outplayed.
Nobody thought that was the guy that would play them close. Everybody thought, Georgia or Oregon.
I did not want to see Texas a third time, if I'm being honest with you. I'm not afraid of them, but it's hard to beat a good team twice, 3 times. I'd have to see the stats on that.
Exactly. That's what, Quinn Ewers in Texas have a good shot at going to this thing. They really do. Yeah. But I'm not going to take anything away from them. But right now, the bye and the way the structure of the CFP is, it just sucks. It stinks. I mean, it's been lackluster performance.
Sucks. Yeah.
It's been lackluster performance after lackluster performance. Here we were a few weeks ago. I'm thinking, Tennessee, Ohio State's going to be one of the best matchups of the weekend. Okay. All right. Whatever.
Okay, we got Ohio State, Oregon.
Arizona State and Texas. Lo and behold, that's the best matchup you can offer me this entire playoffs. I'm done with it, man. Let's see the thing like March Madness.
The Final Four is going to be great, though. The Final Four is going to be great.
It will. Mm-hmm. But hear me out. See the thing 1 through 16 like March Madness, and let the BCS pick it.
Yep.
1 through 12. 100%. Let like I said, let conference championships matter to a degree. If you're number 25 and you win your conference championship, you're not going. Get the hell
No,
out of here.
yeah, your conference is clearly
I'm
weak. You're
talking
gonna let
about
in
you,
a
Clemson,
right. You're going in
even though
a
you put
let
up
in
a good
a
fight at Texas.
yeah.
But you're not here. Get out.
Yep, yep.
Look, man, if you're not within the top 15 teams and you win your conference, you don't deserve to be there.
Mm-mm. Not at all, because we're not going to have a Mountain
It's
West
broke.
team or a Conference USA team
And
jumping in. You know what I
and they
mean?
yeah, exactly. And they said that the structure wouldn't be necessarily reformed within the next season. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
hoping by the 2027 season, hopefully
Yeah.
it'll be fixed
Right.
to where we want it to be.
Right.
But with that being said, I do truly believe that the four best teams are in the playoff right now.
They are.
Texas, Penn State, Notre Dame, and Ohio State. Those are the best four teams, bar none. I
Yep.
mean, Georgia got exposed last night.
They did.
Oregon got exposed the other night, and Arizona State just kind of fell short.
They
And
had
it is
a
what it is.
magical last ditch effort from
They
Scatterboo,
really
and it
did.
just so happened to
Cam
work.
Scatterbo is a freaking elite guy, and I hope he gets drafted.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's really all I got to say about it. And like I said, I'm standing on business with the Ohio State Notre Dame prediction. But if I'm wrong, I'll eat crow.
Hey, it'll be all right if you're wrong, because that means we still got another great matchup on the flip side. No matter what I mean, Penn State, Texas, Ohio State, Penn State. No matter how it
It can
plays
go
out, we're
any
going to get
way.
a phenomenal. We're going to get a phenomenal national
We
championship.
will.
Even though I'm, we're both upset that our teams aren't there. It's still going to be a watcher for sure. We're still going to be watching the round of 4, which is great, and the Natty's going to be good too. So I think our next 3 games are going to be the 3 best. Probably of the college football playoffs. I do think the 3.5 weeks off did hurt these teams, and you even look at Georgia and Notre Dame, or Georgia's instance, they had the extra day off, which could have, proved to be an advantage. But unfortunately,
Respect
it
to all
wasn't
the
for them.
victims involved.
Yes, big respect to all the victims involved. Obviously, they had to move the game because of what happened. I was shocked that they did, only because it was the day of, but I'm glad that the city made the right
Your
call.
family's
And,
stomping grounds.
right. And I'm glad that the city made the right call, for those security reasons, and really stepped up the security as well, because you have to look at rest versus rust with 3.5 weeks off. And, I just don't know of another
That's
sport
one more day,
besides
though.
college football. Right. But it's the 3.5 weeks. I'm not really complaining about the extra day, but when you just bring it into account, like Georgia had the longest time off of everybody,
They really did.
and maybe you could have used that as an advantage. But when you see every first round bye team lost,
And Kirby Smart's dad getting hurt on the stairs and all that stuff.
yeah, and it's nuts, man. It's
You can
absolutely
use
nuts.
whatever you want.
Right, right. But I think they might temper some of these expectations with the time off as maybe the next bracket comes out for next year, because even NFL, you only get a couple weeks off if you get a first round bye in the league, and then I think you get a week or 2 off. You get 1 week off between if you get a bye, because you don't have to play in
Mhm.
the first round, and then if you make the Super Bowl, you get a week off as well because the Pro Bowl is played. So even in professional sports, you're not getting almost 4 weeks off. That's a
No,
long time. Now, yes, again, it can be an advantage, but clearly here it wasn't for the 4 teams that went home. Everyone who
absolutely.
won in the first round also won in the second round and is now
Mhm.
playing for a shot at the Natty. What do you make of that?
It's just I don't know what to say really. I mean, it's kind of like, "Oh, you counted us out? Okay, we're gonna show you
Yeah,
something."
right.
And you're gonna give these teams a bye week? All right. We're gonna show up with the grit and the poise and the determination to win these football games.
Yep,
And they did.
they
They
did.
really did. Texas, Ohio State, all of them.
Yep,
Every
they did.
team in this final
Uh-huh.
is the best team in college football.
Yep.
If any one of
Everyone that
them,
hosted a home game is now playing for a shot at the Natty.
if any one of them, because they had more to play for, if you
Mhm.
think about it.
For
And
sure.
if any of the four of them won, I wouldn't be surprised,
Right. Well, clearly one of the 4 is gonna win, Alan. I mean,
obviously. But
I'm just fucking with you.
if any of them, for that matter, if Penn State come away, if Texas come away, it doesn't shock
Yeah.
me because they had more to play for. They had more to lose. Everybody's counting us out because we lost this or we lost that. Let me show you something. We're good. We got these new rules, these new boundaries to go by with the 12-team playoff.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all cut them too much slack, man.
Yeah.
It's like those Alabama teams from years back. It's like, oh, what if they would have been subjected to a 12-team?
Oh, yeah.
And got a bye week. What would have happened?
Right.
You can sit
Would
there
they
and
really
speculate.
dominated, or do you think
Exactly.
how do you think Saban would have dealt with almost a month off of football? It's some hard ass practice, I'll tell you that.
One could lecture, oh, he would have just dominated. Or one could also go this way and say, well, bye week can hurt you just as well as it can help you. So, and we have proof of that this season. So that's all I really got to say about it.
Right. 100% of the teams that got a bye are not playing for the national championship. Definitely wild, and again, you feel bad for a team like Oregon who's just in an absolute slobber knocker side of the freaking bracket, and then, I'll eat crow, Alan.
I was rooting
I remember
for
saying
him, man.
it.
I really was.
I was saying, man, I was like, Georgia's got to be licking their chops right now. Indiana, Notre Dame, Penn State, Boise State. Get out of here, dogs. You had a fan talking too much shit. And it hurts, bro. It really does hurt. But shout out to, I want to give credit to every team that played their asses off this week. I want to give credit to every game, whether it was good or bad, because the 4 teams that we have left are without question, the 4 best in college football. Yes, they are elite. And again, prayers up for the city of New Orleans. We know that city is unbreakable. Amen. They've been through so much. And again, just shout out to everyone involved for, making as big of an adjustment as they really could. Any final thoughts on the second round or anything before we end the show?
Man, I'm just excited to see what comes of it and who the national championship stage is going to be set for.
That's right.
I'm really excited to see it, man. I really am, regardless of the outcome, regardless if I'm wrong. I just can't wait to see it, man. And I know I'm going to watch it because I watch almost all of them. So.
Yep. It's going to be fantastic, bro. That was episode 87, of the NFL with AJL, and of course the double A, as we always have with the weekly college football content. Before we get out of here, y'all please make sure to like and share the stream. Of course, subscribe on YouTube, hit the bell so you never miss a post. We're doing absolutely fantastic with social media push. Brian, thank you for being on the chats. Babe, thank you for being in the chat as well. Darby, appreciate you earlier for jumping in. Of course, the QR code on Alan's side of the screen is every bit of social media and podcast content at the NFL with AJL. If you can't find us, we promise you're simply not looking hard enough. We'll be back on Tuesday with the semifinals predictions, Orange Bowl, Cotton Bowl. Might be chopping up some, Might be chopping up some transfer portal news as well, as it's constantly moving around. But I'm Adam. That's Alan. This is the double A on the NFL with AJL, episode 87. We'll see you guys.